Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Skills Go Up devlog. This is the 11th entry in this series, and we're going to check out what I've added to the game this week. So to start things off, this was a fairly technical week. You know what? One real quick thing, I'm turning off clouds. Make it a little brighter for you guys. So yeah, it was a pretty technical week, so not a huge change log. And I'm going to try to keep this video a little shorter than the last few because I tend to ramble on a lot. But yeah, I improved some building related stuff. Windows, stairs, are all better. We can go over here to a building that has stairs. You can see now they look real nice now. They've got the walls there. They got all that. I think the ladders having the thing visible is new too. But I don't know. I just kind of put buildings on there. But yeah, windows are looking nice. They're see-through. This thing's see-through now. That's all good. Overall, buildings are in a better place. The biggest issue now is just fixing the lag spikes whenever they load in, and there's a couple ways I could fix that. I'm not entirely sure, but there is one more building-related thing, which, if we head on over here, I added docks. This is just an extension of the platform that we've had for a while now, but it lets it go over water. It's technically a half floor building because a normal floor is 2 Z heights, so this is only 1 Z height, so it's not quite as tall as a normal house, and I think it looks pretty good. It's a pretty good system. You can swim under it. I won't bother doing that, but you can if you want. I think the stairs in here are new, how they kind of connect to the wall there. This is all pretty good stuff. Overall, buildings, they're in a pretty good place now, and entities can go up in them. We can place objects in them, and it should all be fine. There's probably some edge cases here and there. For example, the trapdoors aren't drawing whenever you're outside the building. That should be a pretty minor fix. It was just something that happened when I was dealing with the windows and the depths issues and all that stuff. But anyway, the next thing is I did a slight rework to projectiles. I need to go and find the banker. All right, let me get a correctly spelled spirit arrow. And now I need a bow, which I, for some reason, have only added one bow. That is still a thing that is true. But yes, so now we have the spirit arrow equipped. So if I shoot at this guy, it can go through him and hit the guy behind him. So yeah, piercing is now a thing projectiles can do. Spirit arrows are something that can pierce through as many things as possible until they hit the range limit, but you can have a pierce limit too, so I could have something that has a piercing of 2. And basically how it works is if it doesn't hit anything, then it can drop, but if it hits at least one enemy, then it counts as a hit, and it will use the arrow destroyed calculations to choose whether or not to drop. So that way you're not just farming a spirit arrow on a single enemy forever because it's not hitting its max hits, which is unlimited. So that would be problematic, as you might imagine. The next thing is something I can't really show very easily, but it did come up in the last video, which was enemies seeing through walls. So in the last video, the bird guy saw me through this wall here, but now he doesn't see me. That was convenient. He was standing there. Yeah, enemies in general shouldn't be able to see through solid objects anymore unless the objects are short. I think I followed the same 0.5 rule for height. No, he's getting closer. Let's get over here. Yeah, he's not running away. He's not scared of us, hopefully. If he runs away again, I'll be sad. But yeah, that's just a minor little fix, but I figured I'd mention it since it did show up in the last video. Next one, this is a simple thing, just something I'm happy to have finally done, is I got a new name for the Nomoth, because I was sick of them having such a terrible name. They're now called the Nell, G-N-E-L. I don't know where he's at. I mean, this guy's a Nomoth, but the Nomoth flying guy is always never where I want him to be whenever I want to show him off. It's funny how that works. Well, anyway, I also renamed a few other entities that, well, not entities, but like species and things that aren't yet in the demo. So you guys don't know what they used to be called, but they'll be in there soon enough, I'm sure. All right, the next one is a big one, but it doesn't really have much of a visible impact on the game as it is right now, which is I added a move system. So how this works is now basically anything that an entity does that isn't like standard movement or using an item is now considered a move, kind of like a Pokemon move. So spells, they're out now all moves. Auras are moves. Even using weapons is a move. Firefly glowing is a move. And what this means is that I can take those abilities and easily transplant them on other things. Like I could make the player use the glow move if I wanted to. And it's all centralized. It's all built in with all the requirements and things. So you can put level requirements on them and all that. And it means that we'll be able to have non-spell moves for the player in the future. It does mean some issues with this interface. I don't know if I'm going to have to add another tab or if the magic tab will become a move tab. And we'll have even more tabs. I'll have to figure out a sub-tab solution for that then, because we won't be able to fit enough tabs here if every single ability of the player is going to go in there. But it just really standardizes how everything works, because previously I was programming special unique melee attacks for different enemies, and it was all nonsensical. It's much easier if I can just say, this is a move, and now if I ever want it again, I literally just say, yeah, use this move, and it just works. So it's a pretty major upgrade. It's just not much to actually show yet. But someday we will have non-magic moves, and then I'll be able to show you guys them, and you'll know where they came from. All right, so after doing all that, that was most of the week's work. But after that, I was like, you know what? I'd better do some things that are a bit more visual. So like last week, I went ahead and added some new monsters. So this is Oxyflutter. He is a rust moth. And yeah, he's pretty cool. He will die now, I guess. I don't forget if I gave him a drop or not, honestly. Mythic Shard. Yeah, he just has a random drop right now. He'll probably drop something rust-related, iron oxide, dust or something. I don't know. Basically, he's just going to fly around inside caves and probably iron mines as well. I'm thinking about giving him the ability to perch on iron ore like the birds perch on trees. It might be a thing that happens, but he glows a little in the dark. You can't see that because I killed him, but he does. Just very faintly, just enough to see him, really. But I just wanted another enemy, and he uses the same like animation structure as the butterfly, so he was pretty simple to add. I like nice, simple things to add, and the next thing was not as simple to add. This is the Cactus. This is a reference to the cactus cat, which is a classic, I believe, North American mythical animal. Which I have turned into this monstrosity. He just kind of runs around hitting you. Now, this guy necessitated a rework I'd been intending to do it had been on my to-do list for like a week. But I had realized that contact damage was kind of a dumb system now that we had the proper move system. Oh, and you might notice that melee attacks are angled now. That's something I will need to go over here in a second. But yeah, contact damage was a problem because we have iframes, invincibility frames, and it meant that whenever you took contact damage, you wouldn't take any other hits. So I had enemies that they might do 2 damage, but they were doing 1 contact damage, and it meant that you were never actually taking the 2 hit, and it made them weaker. So now contact damage is restricted only to specific enemies, this guy being maybe the only one. I forget if I left the magma guy with contact damage, but it also has separate iframes from the actual normal combat damage. So you can see he's hitting 2. I had to put the hit separation like we do on XP so that they're not just on top of each other. But yeah, he's a pretty good little guy. Like the Oxyflutter, I haven't put any real drops on him. In fact, he doesn't even have any drops, apparently. Because I don't actually know what I want a cactus cat to drop. But he's the Cactus. I'm really enjoying just making my own unique animals and things. This will be the, like, hopefully iconic things in the game world. Kind of like when you go in RuneScape and you've got the low-level Slayer monsters. There's the things that exist, and they're kind of unique, and you just see them and remind you of the game, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm going for here. And also just a bit more variety in the game. Always good. But what else? All right, the targeting. So I did a rework for the targeting. This had also been on my to-do list for a while. But basically, melee now has targeting like the other two styles. So now it has the targeting thing, and it goes like that. You can actually, though, with V, turn off targeting mode to, it's like a partial targeting. Yeah, it says it in the bottom. But partial targeting means the only things that actually target are things that have to be targeted, like the lightning spell. You can't just, like, where would it hit the lightning? I don't know. So lightning has to be targeted. It will use the box. But other things will just fire straight forward. This lets you shoot magic straight forward, arrows straight forward, and melee. So if you're trying to do something special, you can just quick toggle that off. And since it reuses an existing key that was already a toggle, it makes sense. It's controller compatible. I think it's a nice upgrade to this entire system. Next up, health bar standardization. That's just something you can see here. I got rid of the little dots entirely. Everything just uses the health bar. It adjusts its size based on how big it is. Overall, it's just a lot more useful and nice and standardized, so it makes sense. Next up, we're running out of things to do. I decided, in the interest of making the game look a little better, we would upgrade a few graphics. So the brick kiln, the well, the compost bin, and the worm farm all have new graphics that kind of fit closer to the like lodestone shrine, jeweler's bench style of graphics than the flat graphics that we were using in the first couple weeks. Overall, they look a lot nicer. I'll probably be doing more of those upgrades next week, especially because it might be another technical week. I don't know. Been a lot of work. And this actually wasn't the last bit of technical things, because just today I finished the last big technical rework, which was an upgrade to the crafting system to allow for better usage of ingredients. Ingredients are no longer restricted to items, and technically they weren't in the first place because the brewing thing could use water as an ingredient, but it was a hard-coded separate crafting bit, and it was nonsensical. So now, instead of items, they take ingredients, which a function goes through and basically converts whatever you want it to have. You tell it how to convert it to essentially an item, and then it makes it available. So this converts the water stored in the brewing thing into water doses, an ingredient, and now it works. But why did I do that, besides it just making sense and opening up a lot of possibilities in the future? Well, I was thinking about Elder Scrolls, and I realized I wanted spell scrolls, but how do you deal with spell scrolls? That is the question. So we have spell crystals. How do spell crystals work? So I'm going to have to increase my levels, because spells actually have level requirements now. It was part of the move rework to do that. So let me real quickly do that. So you can engrave a spell crystal. It can hold spells up to the level of gem that it is. So if the gem takes level 30 artisan to cut, it'll do spells up to magic level 30, basically. And then you can just do that. It will take whatever the requirement of the thing is. So we can do this, and it will take the required items for the spell, and it will put it into the shard and make a stackable, equipable version of the spell. The name is a bit long. I'll probably have to just shorten to like Ice Shard Crystal or whatever. But the point of this is not so much for the player to use in most situations. There's a few situations where maybe a spell will require like 8 different shards, and it might actually make sense to make some spell crystals for it. But in general, I'm feeling the costs and time to make them will make them not worth it for that purpose. But you could sell them. They will probably have uses in quests and other things like that. Maybe you'd be able to give them to NPCs for them to use in battle. And also, they can be a reward. So instead of making them yourself, you might get rewarded some spells that maybe you can't even learn. Like maybe you can get the Firefly Glow spell as a spell crystal and use it. I don't know. Maybe. We will see. But yeah, so that is how it works. We got a spell crystal for each tier of gem. And it was a lot more work to add them than you would think, because the system wasn't really designed with that in mind. And it just forced me to change a lot of things that should have been done that way in the first place. But when I first made the crafting system, I hadn't thought of all these potentials. So now that is fixed. And yeah, that is it for this week. Not a huge list, but still a pretty substantial amount of new features. And hopefully I can continue to progress towards the goal of actually building the map area. The biggest blocker right now is the map editor, honestly. I want to be absolutely certain the buildings are finalized before I build support into the map editor for the buildings. And I feel like we might be getting to that point, but maybe another week or two just to really figure it out. And I also have to do a few other things. Like I changed recipes. I got to go in and fix the recipe editor that I'd made to support ingredients instead of item inputs, things like that. So that's going to be some work. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work still to go before we can really start mapping, but we're definitely getting close. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.